Hi. Welcome to the circus. Align with me. I'm Johnny. This one, I am talking about professionalism. And I'm gonna kind of talk about it. And it also has to do with editing and everything, really. And I'm gonna really eyeball it. I don't know how long it's gonna be. It's probably too long to your ass, but relax. You have time, okay? Relax, bro. I don't have any books on it. I'm just telling you what I've been thinking about it. There's a lot of videos that I want to talk about, but I'm letting it marinate to figure out what I actually want to say. And I'm still trying to read a book about a certain thing, and I'm not really ready on that one. So, professionalism only exists right now from the rich. So, we're gonna go all the way back to just probably monarchy. And Britain, they would have and probably France too, and whatever the fuck else, you know. I'm focusing only on the white countries, okay, the white cultures. I'm in America. Like, America is based on white culture, so, and a bunch of horrible things, right? So this doesn't apply to richness of brown cultures and brown countries. I don't know that, okay? Brown and black, I don't know. It's probably not as bad as this one. Obviously, I know the white one is really bad, okay? So, if I'm only thinking about, France and Britain, whatever the hell, they would have these rich people, and they would have this whole really weird specific rules for their rich people. It's like this, they really had a very rigid society based on, oh, you can't have this, you can't have that, because they want to differentiate them from the poor people, from the proletariat. They wanted to have so many rules because the proletariat would not have any rules at all. They would have a little bit of rules, but not really. They would have executions, maybe, but it was more of a rich people thing, right? We know they had stuff like that from people who tried to get into the rich stuff. Like a poor, pretty lady who comes to a king, and then they get beheaded all the time, right? I guess we're getting in. It's almost Halloween. I'm feeling morbid, macabre. I don't know. The rich would want to really focus on their little society of their rules and all of that, and it wouldn't apply to the proletariat. The proletariat, the peasants, were just there to make food and raise food, and then that has to go to the rich people who has the rules of the whole land. Because those guys were like, okay, it doesn't apply to me. Sure, there's stupid laws, but what do I have? They have all this money. They can beat my ass. So they would just be doing like, fine. As long as I can booze it up, living with my life, and having my love people. And they still had fucked up shit. But at least they had people they cared for. If you went and I recently watched Pride and Prejudice. That shit only applies to rich people. I was like, oh, people liked that so much because that's their little society. When you were in the peasants, you would just kind of figure out who you wanted. You were like, oh, I kind of fell in love with that person and I like what they do, and then I want to do that with that person. And that whole rules of all of that shit didn't even apply to the poor people, okay? Um, and then they would have very specific employees for the bourgeoisie. So they would be like, then we want butlers, we want maids, we want people to do the stuff for us, but it's at our house. And so we want them to look a certain way, behave a certain way, and still get a little bit of money. And if you're in my little world, you have to be professional. We're getting there, because they were doing professionalism for themselves and for their employees. It's a very specific societal rules. And then the poor people was like, we don't care, they're just giving us food. I mean, we're gonna control their entire society too, because it's gonna trickle down to all of them, and we wrote the laws. But I don't really care what they look like. I don't really care what they do, except for as long as they do the shit for me. So if you're doing the shit that I want, then I don't care if you're an alcoholic. I don't care if your titties look out. I don't know. So then we have that little sense of things, and that's professionalism, how it even fucking started. And then it comes down into where the Britons come into America, and they're like, oh, I don't want this and that, but they still had ideas on riches. Those people are like, oh, we have all of this land. Because, like, the people who came to America, the white bastards who came into America, and yes, the Spanish counts as white bastards, okay? They would come in here and they want to control the land, and they want to really have a very specific society. That's professionalism. They wanted to do horrible things. It's actually way worse than the rich then in Britain. We were way worse. And so they came and they were doing horrible things, and they were destroying very harmonious people, the natives in America. They were fucking shit up. And then you have more colonies, and I don't know, they were just extra dirty because they're from the proletariat. They're from the peasants. They don't clean that well. They barely even they didn't even have plumbing yet, right? That didn't fucking happen yet. That's like the 1800s, I think, that we had plumbing in Britain, and then I don't know when the fuck that happened in America. But so we get to America with the proletariat, who are trying to mimic. They're trying to mimic what we know, or what we think we're getting away with, which was a lot of prude assholes. So that sounds like they were trying to mimic exactly what they were trying to do about the prude assholes in the rich, in the bourgeoisie, in Britain. They were like, well, I want to do it. And they didn't have really that much money. But they were like, at least I can colonize shit and make those ideals for these people. And then it was like, oh, we can do the same thing that the rich did, but we're going to use slaves. Dude, they kind of did that for the peasants in Britain, but it wasn't the same way, because they were not beaten. They weren't really done that way, Then you had these peasants come over here to America, and then they're like, well, I want to do it, but I want to use it with slaves, and I want to do horrible things. And I have ideas about conquest, and I'm going to think about all these other options, and I'm going to create my own society, and I'm going to do all this professionalism, and it's fucked up. It's disgusting. They did the worst thing that any society has ever done for slavery. oh, there's been slavery before. They cannibalized people. The rich people still ate, the rich people in Britain would still eat a bunch of mummies, but that shit happened in America. They were cannibalizing a lot of shit. And then they cannibalized real living people. And then they were cannibalizing little babies. And then they were breeding all these human beings. They made it way worse than the Britain rich people were there. And then they took this for their idea on professionalism. And all the shit that they thought up and enforced into the whole little life that they're creating. It's fucked up, man. I'm trying to put it down to this point. Reason why I'm getting to this point of professionalism, okay? Over time, they would still have professionalism to their enslaved people. They would still be like, you have to look a certain way, you have to do a certain way. And it was way worse than it was from the Britain. And they weren't paid for shit, obviously. They were barely fed. And the things they fed them was things they wouldn't do themselves because they're horrible. And they would also breed. It's a fucked up shit, okay? Oh, it's not that bad. Bro, they created the most horrible thing ever happened. Like, worse than anything. The only reason that Germany got as bad as it was because of Jim Crow's, and that guy was like, oh shit, that's working. That's a good idea. Hitler was like, oh, America's on a right way, man. They're figuring shit out. They were like, oh, America made that work. I want to do that too. Dude, we inspired Hitler. So chill, okay? Let me get to professionalism. So they still had those ideas of total control, appearance, and behavior. We still had that. We had the once they outlawed slavery, there's still so many rich people who were like, well, okay, how about these loopholes? How about I got good ideas? Like, we already know about this. I'm from these people who were poor, who had good ideas, and then I can create more things. And guess what? I'm from people who made themselves rich. I can think about other ways to make myself rich, and I'm gonna control it. So then they're gonna be like, okay, well, I'm gonna have the bounty hunters. I'm gonna get people from the north and bring them back down to the south. And we're gonna steal all these people, and we're gonna bring them all the way back before they make it a full federal change. So if we started from states, then they're like, I'm gonna drag you all the way back to the south. And then and then they're like, okay, I'm having shit like this, and my professionalism is working like this. And then they created the whole bounty hunters into the policing entirely. Yeah. And then they were like, okay, well, that shit's not working. So then we're gonna actually make sure that all states, you can't have any slaves at all. And they were like, well, hold on a second. Sure, but I just created the bounty hunters, so now I'm just gonna give them a full thing. We're gonna call you like a sheriff or something, or we're gonna call you like a deputy, because the Britons are dumb and we don't want to know what they have their words. I don't know when they put the police state, okay? I just know I live in America, and that's all I know. And so they were like, okay, well, I'm still going to create laws for all this. All the laws that we have in America is based on the laws that the poor people had inspired from the Britons, the Britain rich people, who had all these laws, and they were like, oh, I can do that here. I can make laws now. And so then it's all this time of these rich people making all these laws. So we can protect our rich people. And we're doing the same thing that we fled from Britain, but we made it way worse. And then, and then we're like, oh, okay, well, people come in along the way and people would be like, well, this kind of sounds fucked up. So maybe we want to fix that. And then they would be like, here's a loophole, Jim Crow laws. We're going to figure out shit like that. Oh, that's kind of fucked up. And over time, they're going to be like, well, why are we doing like this, man? This is kind of fucked up. And people would be like, I want to fix that. I want to outlaw that. And they were like, okay, well, here's the other thing. I'm going to trickle it down into maybe careers, maybe home ownership, maybe all of their money for black people. And I want to make sure they have no money whatsoever. And so they were like, now black Americans cannot have a damn house. Because they were like, oh, if there's black people in my little neighborhood, then we don't have the same rich that we wanted, and we still want to abuse people. I already talked about conquest in America, so there's a video about that. They're still doing on that. We don't want to have that. And then they were like, you can't even have a fucking job. If you're having a job, we're going to make you do a certain way, a certain behavior, a certain appearance. That's professionalism. We're going to make sure that you can't even have a credit. We're going to make sure there's such a thing as credit score so that you can't even have shit. And then there's this and that. So there's a bunch of other things where you're like, oh, everything is fucked up. Yeah, because of the rich people who are mimicking the rich in the Britain, and they made it way worse. So, yes, I am white. I am only saying things like, you're only listening to this because you're not listening to all the black Americans who already told you all this shit. I'm just saying. For real. I'm only like barely noticing shit at all because I'm white. Anyway, so that's why come all the way here in the 2000s, you know, because the credit score started in the fucking 80s. The Reaganomics is horrible. It's because that guy didn't even believe in that shit. He just had a hot lady who was way worse than he was. And then he was like, sure, Nancy, you got it. She's pretty hot. So I'm going to do... I was thinking that maybe we want to do a more democratic, but this lady's hot. So, okay, I'll fuck up the whole economy because one lady kind of has really control on me. So everything is fucked up. Way worse. And then it was way worse for queers, for women, for people of color, blah, blah, blah. But they still wanted to have... Now you had the rich people who are like, well, I don't want to work at all, right? So they're like, I want to have as many employees as possible. And I also want it to be as resemble of all of the slavery. Because we still love slavery so much. So we're going to make sure that nobody makes enough money. They have all these rules and all that. But also, I want to make sure that people of color, I want you to know you're still a slave. And now you have to have professionalism. Now your hair is supposed to be either put it in a wig or ruin it so that it looks more like white people's hair. Or you're supposed to get rid of your very natural hair because we hate black people. Because, I don't know, they just were really obsessed about people of color. They have this weird thing about the color of your skin. It was weird. I don't know, but shit was like that. Shit are like that right now. And then they were like, well, you got to make sure you can't say a certain way. I have to make sure you behave the right way I want it to be, which is very white and very annoying and very bullshitty. And then they're like, I want to make sure you have to be always there for what we have to do. And that applies for black Americans, but it also applies to the white Americans. So it's like, well, now we have these, like, at least protective laws, where it's like you can't just fire people. It doesn't really work because they can just lie, because this will shock you. All the white people lie. So they're like, I'm not going to deal with that. I just fired them because they suck at their job. Duh. Or I have labor cuts. I get a lot of firing because I'm autistic. I'm just white, bro, and I'm queer and all that, but they fire my ass a lot just for being autistic. And then they're gonna come up with like, oh, here's this and that. I've got reasons for this. Are they laws? Yes. Are they lies? Yes. But I'm gonna say this, and then what are we gonna do? They don't have money to a lawyer. It doesn't fucking matter. I don't have a law. I don't have money for a lawyer. I can't say shit. So then we're gonna do with all of that, and now I can fire them then, and then they're gonna be like, well, fuck, I can't. I don't have mortgage. I just have a rent. I fucking have to have a credit score. And I can't afford that shit. And then I will be evicted. And so now the white people and the black people in America would have to, and brown people, they would have to focus on making themselves more palatable to the bourgeoisie. And that is where the true trickle down from Reaganomics, that you have to behave a certain way and not even being compensated. Not at all, man. It's like you can barely survive. So, now we're going to figure out and we're going to think about it. It's it's the late stage capitalism that is created from the dumbest poor people in Britain, has made the worst system of all time from their own personal. It's even worse than the rich were from Britain and France. Even at least France they murdered those people, but like we never murdered anyone yet. And then okay, we murdered one CEO. Okay, that's like barely even counts. And so like now we have to figure out shit. Fuck. Where were we? No, I'm not. It's not drunk history. It's just me talking shit. So the whole thing is fucked up. You're in the late stage capitalism where we're like, actually, it got way worse. Way worse than the rich were in Britain. It's way worse from what we had now. And actually, now it's this whole system. This applies to everyone, which is... So, black Americans were like, duh. We knew this. This has been terrible this whole time. And now it applies to white people. Now white people are like, wait a second, this fucking sucks. Actually, maybe we don't want it anymore either. Because now it applies to me. And so they're like, oh, fuck, now I have to be professional? What the hell? I thought that only applied to black people. And now I have to do stuff? Dude, what the fuck? So, black people already knew this. Obviously, yeah. They've been resilient since the beginning of the time they got put into a ship over here. Like, horrible lives. And the natives were already there. And they were beat to shit and destroyed from all these white people. And now they're trying to do it to the Hispanics in America. And they're trying to have all these slaves. Anyway, nothing fucking matters. Okay? Your professionalism doesn't even matter, man. You're not paid for that. Black people already know that. White people are learning that this shit sucks and we want to figure something out. And that's not black people's job, okay? That's not their job because they fucking have been trying this whole last time. And they've been doing it a bunch of times. And guess what? Our white asses can't handle the open-heartedness of people who don't look like us. And so it's up to us for our lives as being white to figure shit out on why humans matter and why it has taken us that long to actually give a shit and then have to figure out, oh, professionalism shouldn't have mattered the entire time. The whole American shit shouldn't have mattered at all. So we don't even have to look a certain way. We're not compensated for what they were. We're not fucking butlers. They don't pay us for this shit. And then, yeah, so I don't do the professionalism anymore. Like, I tried to be in capitalism. That shit never worked. I went for sex work. That shit didn't work. And everything is down to actual bullshit, you know. I'm kind of youngish. I'm almost 30. And, but I also believe in reincarnation. And so many of my lives has been white. And I never addressed for racism ever until this life. And it took until I was almost 30. So I probably have been opening up about this in my early 20s because I've been queer and disabled and a femme, that this shit is bullshit. And I grew up in a cult. Then I had to like figure shit out, like, oh my god, humans, I think they matter, because wait a second, they don't think I matter because I'm a certain way, and therefore I must have to focus on other human beings. It really does take you until they the white people do not care about humans until they realize it fucking beats our ass first. It's bullshit. It's fucked up, but hey, people gotta learn, okay? And so we don't have to think about this. Makeup is bullshit. Bras are bullshit. Doing a hair a certain way is bullshit. Being a behavior which is very white is very bullshit. In the way things, and then editing everything is bullshit too. If the rich people want a way of certain things and in a control, they have to either compensate it for us or fucking die. And I know they're not going to compensate people because they're very addicted to money. So they're either going to die or they're going to figure out, they're going to boot themselves off to another island. Oh, an island, right? That is funny and sad at the same time. And so I have all these YouTube videos where I don't even do professionalism at all because it never worked for me. So they always fired my ass regardless when I was doing the professionalism that they wanted. Because also it doesn't apply to autistic people. They actually want to kick your ass no matter what because you're a little weird to them. And they're like, it's almost like you're not reading my mind, and therefore I don't want to have you there. And so they have that same belief for people of color, and they're like, well, you don't know how to have white thoughts, so I'm gonna have to kick your ass. And then I kind of have to keep you on the field because of the protective laws. So why don't you ruin your hair? And why don't you have white clothing like how white people do? So, and then also if you're online, everyone has to do professionalism. So everyone has to edit, and everyone has to say a certain way, and everybody has to clip all of their videos to make sure it's more palatable for people, because we have propagandized people to not understand anything, and they don't have enough time for anything because everyone is in like still in a form of slavery because they don't pay you enough on anything. So yeah, give up on all this professionalism, give up on editing. We want authenticity as we figure shit out right now while people do things. So the professionalism is like, fuck that. Let's do stuff that is like important and say things that are valuable and create art and do things like that. And the way you appear shouldn't matter. Like the way it is. It's very specific, rigid culture, and it's not sustainable for human beings. So we're fucking up this shit up. Fuck it up. We don't want that anymore. We want people to live their lives as little humans and enjoy your communities. And so you can appear the way you want to appear. You're going to live the way you want to live. You want to behave the way you want to behave. And it'll just work with your little community, and we'll figure it out. Stop editing. Stop doing whatever it is. Hope for mutual aid, and hope for community, and building things and little systems that are enjoyable and things that people like. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to behave a certain way. That's just white slavery bullshit behavior. And we don't have to accept the toxicity anymore. Black Americans already know that. Brown Americans already know that. I mean, for like the vast majority of them, hell yeah, they're like, they know the shit sucks. I guess this is mostly white people. Mostly white people. Like, open your heart, figure shit out. Because this shit's so fucked up that it took you long enough. That's also applies to me, obviously. Took us long enough to open our heart to the experience of other people. And it applies for my past lives too. Those past lives, it had to take up into this life where I had to have disabilities and queerness and feminists to really bullshit my life, to open my eyes for humans to be abused. I had to be abused so that I understand that people deserve more. And it's okay. We're all learning stuff. Your soul is supposed to learn a bunch of stuff, karma, whatever. Shit's happening now anyway. Don't shame yourself. You will not grow well enough. Everybody is holding their own shame. Everyone is holding their own shame. Like, you fucked shit up. Yeah. We all fuck shit up. Let's just let go of that shame, that professionalism, and just figure shit out for the way we want things as our natural selves. Not just mean like natural hair from Black Americans. I mean like the way you are and your soul too. So figure it out. Thank you for listening to this. If you are a person of color, I hope this was silly, because I know you already know all this. For white people, let go of your shame and figure stuff out. And you have time to learn who you are and all that. And as long as you're more open to learning from other human beings, for the vast majority of people of color they have way more heart than the white people, for sure. Always. And so if you let go of your shame and you open your heart for wisdom and knowledge from other human beings, the shame is something that white people hold the most. So you don't have to be like, oh man, I did something horrible. Yeah. They're used to it. And they don't owe you shit, but they might be people in your area who would be like, oh, okay. If you're ready to learn things, people love to give people knowledge. It's the ultimate sharing. So you have to work on yourself, for sure. No one's going to teach you shit until you're ready to learn shit and you figure it out on your own. You have the internet on your little hand right now, figuring shit out. You can Google this, Wikipedia, all of this shit. You can explore a bunch of shit. The more that you can learn for your immediate community is to learn what they're doing right now, today. They have all the history on the internet. You can learn all this shit. It's fucked up. And then you could see what we're doing today. And then we want to figure stuff out. Fix it now. So you want to learn more of that before you come over with them bullshit, you know? So, yeah, figure it out. Thank you for listening to this. I am a communist. and I am definitely shadow banned. So if you want to listen to this shit, put it on subscription and put it on notification, because otherwise I will be shadow banned. You won't get to enjoy my voice. And I'm not going to be doing this forever. It's not a full career. It's just a messenger. And then I'm going to move whatever shit I like to do, which is a lot of art stuff that I like to do. And I'll get there when I get there. It makes sense until it doesn't make sense until it makes sense. Whatever. So I'll see you on the next whatever shit I'm doing. I probably have one more video this year, and then boom, see you next year. So I'll see you guys later. Thanks. Bye.